Tonight, a plea over a missing clue as a pilot suspect faces a fourth day of questioning in the campers mystery. Also breaking news, a fresh Delta crisis inside our aged care homes. Another top Andrews government minister calling it quits. Australian troops deployed as unrest breaks out on our doorstep. Details coming in live. Tragedy on the English Channel. 27 lives lost as a migrant boat sinks. And AFL Young Guns make history, but round 2 of the draft is hit by a COVID scare.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Police are pleading for help to find a vital clue in the missing campers case as they continue to question a Jetstar pilot arrested on Monday. The Caroline Springs father was grilled for a 4th consecutive day, but so far, no charges have been laid.
A 20-month investigation is now stretching into a marathon interview, taking place inside Sale Police Station as Victoria waits for information.
We're not rushing into anything here. They're taking it methodically. They're stepping appropriately through it.
Detectives spent a 4th day questioning Jetstar pilot and now murder suspect Greg Lynn over the disappearance of campers Russell Hill and Carol Clay. Police veterans say the delay in laying charges may be linked to the forensic examination of the 55-year-old's 4-wheel drive, seized when he was arrested by Special Operations Police on Monday.
I've got no memory of a person being held currently for 3 and a bit days without charges being laid. They'll find things, bring him out of the cell. We want to ask you this question, put him back, and to and fro. And
police are still searching for clues, issuing a new appeal for the trailer pictured here.
We're still trying to locate a trailer that was released in that photograph. Between March and July, I believe, is a time period we're looking at.
As the investigation continues, there's more detail emerging about the Caroline Springs father. He was a member of the Melbourne International Shooting Club and had a collection of shotguns and rifles. It's also been revealed his first wife died at home almost 20 years ago, and a heart condition forced the Jetstar pilot into an instructor role. He was training and assessing pilots as recently as last weekend. Mr. Lynn will spend another night in custody as police come closer to solving one of the most complex cases in the state's history.
It literally is one where you have to chase every rabbit down every rabbit hole. You can't leave one lead floating, if you like, and the professionalism that's been displayed by them has been amazing.
Cassie Zervos has the latest from Sale Police Station, and Cassie, pressure is building for charges to be laid.
Well, Mitch, although there is public expectation, the Chief Commissioner says he's not concerned about how long it's taking. This is one of the most complex cases the state has seen in its history. Police say the law gives them the right to do what they need, from giving the suspect time to rest or seeking medical attention to going over old evidence. So after a long 20-month investigation, police are taking no risks given what is at stake. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos at Sale, thank you. A new aged care crisis is unfolding tonight, with Delta cases spreading fast in homes across Melbourne's west. Jade Vincent has the developing story, and Jade, our most vulnerable are at risk again.
Mitch, there are currently 46 aged care facilities across Victoria with COVID cases. An outbreak started here at Bapt Care West Haven in Footscray 2 weeks ago. Since then, 6 residents have died here with the virus. All staff and 90% of residents were fully vaccinated. Now the home remains in lockdown and nursing teams are being brought in from the Royal Melbourne Hospital.
Haunting images of the second wave re-emerging in Melbourne aged care homes. COVID outbreaks tearing through facilities in the northwestern suburbs. At Frondetha Care in St Albans, an unvaccinated resident with underlying medical conditions died this morning. A third of residents now infected, along with 16 staff. Management says the outbreak is contained to one wing and is believed to be due to a rapid test showing a false negative result for an asymptomatic staff member. At Bapt Care West Haven in Footscray, a devastating cluster has resulted in 6 deaths in a fortnight. 31 residents and 4 staff are positive. 4 patients removed and taken to hospital.
The horrors of last year in the private aged care sector are about to come upon us again.
The nursing and ambulance unions joining the peak medical body in an urgent call to politicians to pass the Andrews government's pandemic laws.
We're talking ambulances spending their entire shift at hospital, unable to respond to cases in the community.
We haven't got time for committees to navel gaze in relation to what should the next step be.
The state government is meeting with key crossbench MPs Rod Barton and Clifford Hayes tonight. The independents pushing for substantial changes to the bill, including ending the vaccine economy.
Yeah, and at some point we'll be able to provide that timeline, but it's got to be based on health advice, and I don't have that advice at the moment.
The government needs 1 extra vote to pass the legislation before the state of emergency powers expire on December 15.
These laws will not provide that certainty or predictability. They will provide a way for a trigger-happy Daniel Andrews to lock the state down again and again and again.
Infection rates remain high, 1,254 new cases with another 5 deaths. We finally hit the 90% double dose mark, but another hurdle looms.
It's more and more looking like the vaccine program for COVID-19 requires 3 doses.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
And vaccine passport rules are changing at midnight to give Victorian parents more peace of mind. They can now add children aged 12 to 14 to their own Service Victoria app. The Family Pass also applies to guardians and long-term foster carers. Anyone who doesn't have a smartphone can still carry a printed copy of their certificate. The Andrews government exodus continues, with Richard Wynne becoming the 4th MP in 24 hours to quit politics. State political reporter Chanel Vella has the fallout from Spring Street. And Chanel, the Premier is putting on a brave face.
Mitch, he certainly is. The Premier held a 45-minute press conference today and he failed to mention that a 4th resignation had landed on his desk. That news came via a statement this afternoon. The Premier was upbeat as he announced a near $10 billion rail investment.
Thank you.
But behind the scenes, a 4th Labor MP was handing in his resignation. Planning Minister Richard Wynne joins Jill Hennessy, Dustin Holtz and Danielle Green in a mass Andrews government exodus. Mr Wynne, a former Lord Mayor, received a glowing exit review. Richard has always brought the utmost integrity to his work and fundamental decency in his approach to others. It may not be the same for MPs Marlene Kairouz and Robin Scott, both named in anti-corruption hearings, their futures also in doubt. And when he wasn't announcing resignations, the Premier was announcing stage 1 of the suburban rail loop.
3 to 4 minutes between stations, so Cheltenham to Box Hill in 22 minutes.
People from Gippsland, someone from Traralgon can come in to the Box Hill Hospital and save 30 minutes off their travel time simply by connecting through the suburban rail loop.
And 26 kilometres of underground tunnel will lead commuters to 6 underground stations.
When it's concluded, it's going to provide for further job activity around each of the train station locations because they will be magnets.
The total cost of the project sits at $35 billion. The Prime Minister has said he won't chip in.
I had a brief conversation with him recently following those comments that he'd made, and as I said, we'll engage with whoever the federal government is, and that engagement won't be just for our government, it'll be for other governments in the future as well, state and federal.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Police say there's no evidence to suggest a crossbench MP's daughter was targeted because of her father's political views. Andy Meddick's daughter was attacked with a spray can on Fitzroy Street last week.
We don't have any evidence or intelligence to that effect, no.
Ms Meddick suffered a gash to her head. Andy Meddick initially claimed the confrontation was politically motivated. To breaking news now, and Australian troops are en route to the Solomon Islands to defuse violent protests. Details are coming through to political editor Mark Riley. And Mark, they're on the way to help local authorities regain control.
They are, Peter. 116 personnel, 73 AFP, 43 military will head to the Solomons from tonight to help restore order there after 2 days of violent demonstrations in the capital Honiara demanding Prime Minister Sogavare's removal. Rioting that's resulted in buildings being set on fire. The decision was taken by an emergency meeting of the National Security Committee here just a short time ago. Here's Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
It is not the Australian government's intention in any way to intervene in the internal affairs of the Solomon Islands. That is for them to resolve.
Those protests follow rising anger over the Solomons' formalisation of its ties with China in exchange for about $750 million in support from Beijing. Scott Morrison says all Australians are safe and he expects the peace mission there to take weeks. Mitch.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. In a new sign, Victoria is learning to live with COVID. Border permits are being abolished. It means anyone from around Australia can come here without filling out paperwork, regardless of whether they're vaccinated or not. The government says it's only possible to scrap the passes after reaching the 90% double dose milestone. Detectives have busted a major drug trafficking ring across Melbourne's southeast. 13 people were arrested in early morning raids, as well as 7 others in a year-long investigation. Detectives have seized $10 million worth of ice, other illicit drugs, utes, prohibited weapons and a homemade machine gun. Police divers are stepping up the hunt in a renewed search for the remains of William Tyrrell. Late today, they plunged into a dam fed by a creek that runs through the search area. A hydrologist believes if the remains have been dislodged, this is where they would most likely be. At least 27 migrants have drowned attempting to cross the English Channel. Emergency talks are about to begin in the UK, with Boris Johnson demanding the French stop the boats over fears the Channel will become a cemetery.
This is how most mornings look on the beaches of the northern French coast. Dozens of migrants loading themselves into inflatable dinghies for the perilous journey across the English Channel. At least 25 boats left today. The weather freezing. Some made it to the English shore, but one boat capsized. Among the dead, 5 women and a child. The tragic vessel was found by fishermen, bodies in the water nearby. Boats returned to the French harbour carrying dozens of victims.
I just want to say that I'm shocked and appalled and deeply saddened by the loss of life at sea in the Channel.
A search and rescue operation managed to retrieve 2 survivors, both fighting for their lives. The French Interior Minister visited the Calais hospital.
Les premiers responsables de cette ignoble situation.
Saying responsibility for the despicable situation lay with people smugglers, calling them criminals. They charge up to $5,000 for a spot on one of the boats. 4 people have been arrested. 25,700 migrants have successfully crossed the Channel in small boats this year, hoping to seek asylum in Britain, a crisis that's getting worse. This search suspended for the night, with 1 person still missing. The weather and the water getting colder as winter approaches. The desperate efforts to get to Britain now more tragic than ever. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
A 42-year-old man has been charged after police uncovered an extraordinary haul of weapons and explosives at his New South Wales property. Officers seized 39 firearms and more than 250 kilograms of explosives, which included pipe bombs. It sparked a huge emergency response with fire and rescue crews on standby. And emergency crews have been called into action as storms dump heavy rain across parts of New South Wales. A Sydney driver needed help after getting stuck on a flooded roadway. The flooding was even worse at Broken Hill in the state's far west. The AFL is making waves around the world after 3 African-born players were selected in the first round of the draft. North Melbourne scooped the pool with the number 1 pick in a night of tears and cheers across the nation.
The class of 2021 forging its own path into the AFL.
I think my story is pretty cool, and yeah, if other people want to hear it, then I'm happy to tell it.
Berwick youngster Mac Andrew joining South African-born Neil Erasmus and fellow South Sudanese star Leka Lear at the highest level.
I've got a message from a lot of Sudanese kids, and they've already said they're going to be looking up to me. So it's pretty crazy getting those messages, and I already feel like a role model for the community.
An overwhelming night for Essendon's Horsham recruit Ben Hobbs after meeting idols he'll now call teammates.
Nice to meet you, well done. Oh wow, this is awesome.
Jason Horne-Francis slept in his new colours, his name called out first by the Kangaroos. Shaped by Grandma's backyard lessons.
And after 2 hours I'd say, I've got to go in now, and he'd say, no Nanny, I want to learn.
Sam Darcy off to the Dogs, fellow father-son Nick Dacos officially a Pie.
It was a beautiful moment to have my name read out and have all the loved ones around me, so still sort of hasn't sunk in, and hopefully it will over the next few weeks.
13 Victorians taken in the top 20, wild celebrations in Montmorency at the home of new lion Darcy Wilmot.
Kissed my girlfriend, quickly pushed her off in case, she got a couple elbows and stuff, and mates jumped on me and a bit of stacks on.
And round 2 of the AFL draft gets underway shortly. Mitch Cleary has the latest from Marvel Stadium, and Mitch, clubs are facing new COVID rules there tonight.
Peter, masks are back on and all officials attending must return a negative rapid test. The AFL showing an abundance of caution after it emerged a positive case attended last night's first round. New Carlton coach Michael Voss is here, having missed last night with his chief executive Brian Cook COVID positive. Tonight, around 35 picks expected. Clubs hoping to snare a bargain for those players who slipped through the cracks last night.
Mitch Cleary at Marvel Stadium, thank you. Tim Payne's Ashes preparations have taken a fresh hit. Tim Watson, it's far from ideal.
Mitch, despite more troubles with the bat today, calls are growing louder for the former skipper to be there at the Gabba. Ahead in sport, there's no spin from Nathan Lyon.
I don't see it as a distraction at all.
Plus the bizarre incident on the pitch that's raised eyebrows. Also the latest edition of Josh Giddey's rise in the NBA. Mitch, an Australian sports star, has ended his illustrious career. We'll have exclusive details soon.
OK, thank you, Tim. We'll see you then. Next, the rescue mission to catch runaway cows, creating traffic bedlam in Melbourne's southeast. Also, protesters target Daniel Andrews over a broken promise. The key to cashing in on a frenzy of Black Friday bargains. Why Sweden's new Prime Minister quit after just 7 hours in the job. And later, experts reveal the best supermarket ham for Christmas. Timber workers have targeted the Noble Park electoral office of Daniel Andrews.
Save our jobs! Save our jobs! And stop pandering to inner city greenies who seem to be more worried about a couple of trees than the jobs of thousands of Victorians.
The union says its Dandenong mill has run out of wood despite a government guarantee of log supply until 2024. There has been an emergency operation in Melbourne's southeast to capture cows darting through traffic. The animals eluded police and firefighters before technology came to the rescue.
On the move, what? Causing mayhem on a suburban road.
What the hell? Oh my God, where are they going?
The three heifers hoofed it when their trailer rolled on a roundabout at Ferntree Gully, sparking an emergency operation that stretched well into the night.
It's definitely a very serious matter. The safety was our number one priority throughout the whole entire thing. Safety for us and the safety and welfare of the cows themselves.
One of the cows was heavily pregnant, the others at times distressed. The decision was eventually made to sedate them. Technology pinpointing their locations.
We have a thermal drone that we use, and if we didn't have that thermal drone, we wouldn't have been able to catch the very black cows in the dark.
One was in the scrub.
Righto guys, we need to move.
A human chain required to bring an animal weighing hundreds of kilograms to safety. Another was corralled in a car park. All 3 cows now safely home after a night to remember. Kate Jones, 7 News.
Overseas, Sweden's first female Prime Minister hasn't even lasted a day. Little more than 7 hours into the job, Magdalena Andersson sensationally quit after her coalition partner resigned and her budget was rejected in favour of an opposition plan. Andersson says she hopes to run for the top job again with a single-party government. And on doctors' orders, the Queen is continuing her version of working from home, holding a royal engagement with the Bank of England's governor. For now, a question mark still hangs over whether Her Majesty will get to Sandringham for the royals' traditional Christmas gathering. 1 in 3 Victorians are set to cash in on record-setting Black Friday sales. It's becoming the busiest retail event of the year, with bargains galore.
You can't miss the Black Friday sale signs with prices slashed on almost everything.
We're highly anticipating this event, and at David Jones we're calling it the event of the year.
And when combined with Cyber Monday, it's a 4-day pre-Christmas bonanza.
You can get the presents for a cheaper price.
More than a third of Australians will shop the sales, splashing $5.4 billion over the weekend. 64% are planning on buying more this year than ever before.
Mostly clothes, accessories.
And as more than half of Aussies under 40 shop online, parcels are expected to skyrocket by 93%. Among the thousands of deals, $250 off Dyson, $300 off robot vacuums. There's up to $1,100 off smart TVs at JB Hi-Fi, $700 off smart watches. There's even deals on notoriously fixed-price Apple, on Amazon and eBay. What if flogging half-price Bali accommodation up to 75% off Thailand? Even supermarkets are getting in on the hype, with Coles, Woolworths and Aldi slashing prices on groceries, gift cards, tech and toys.
It started as an American sales fad. Now Black Friday is steadily outpacing Boxing Day as the biggest retail sales event of the year in Australia too. And with Victorian retailers having just reopened their doors only a month ago, this event is predicted to attract record numbers.
You'll see a lot of really genuine bargains, particularly this year as there's quite a bit of stock to clear out.
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
There are promising signs in the outlook for this summer's bushfire season. Jane Bunn joins us now to explain. And Jane, this is based on long-term modelling.
Mitch, a La Nina summer increases the rain and that brings less prolonged bushfires, like the major fires we had in Gippsland 2 years ago. But all of that rain leads to huge grass growth, so grass and crop fires are still a concern. Flooding is an increased risk, as we've seen today. Intensely heavy rain here along the Hume Freeway. But when it's not raining, it can be warm, and we'll have a taste of that next week. I'll have the full outlook after sport, Mitch.
Thank you, Jane. A Melbourne council is set to dump its name after a shock discovery. Details are next on 7 News. Also see the moment an Audi's engine exploded without warning. Tears over the jury's verdict described as the day racism lost. And a tone-deaf fight breaks out at the ARIA Awards. There's a growing push for a Melbourne council to change its name because of links to slavery in the 18th century. The new Moreland mayor says he's aware of the dark past and finds it offensive.
What's in a name has become a hot topic in Melbourne's north.
We're looking to take a decision on changing our name because of the offensive nature of the name, given its association with slavery and dispossession of the lands from the Wurundjeri Wurrung people here.
Many agree it's outdated.
Why would we want to be named after somebody who now we think did things that were abominable?
I don't believe in changing everything in history, but where there's some indictment involved, I agree.
Obviously it's upset somebody.
Learn from it and move on. To change names, to try and change history, doesn't change anything. Seriously.
A group of locals want more than council's name ditched because of its links to a property in Jamaica involved in the global slave trade in the 18th century.
100-year-old farm which produced rum and sugar, and traded in slaves, and those slaves were something like 500 to 700 slaves.
Historian Robert Pascoe says there are other place names that could be troubling, including Lord Melbourne.
He wasn't a particularly shall we say, heroic figure. We gave the name to him just as a way of kind of acknowledging that he was the Prime Minister of the day. We didn't really look into the question of whether he was a good choice of name.
The Mayor said the council won't be lobbying for a name change to local businesses, a primary school and roads. But opponents of the idea fear even just changing the name of the municipality could be costly for ratepayers.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, just when you think they can't find, new ways to waste ratepayers' money, this is yet again the Greens pushing their agenda.
If the council vote next month is successful, the government will have the final say. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Flames have erupted from the engine of a luxury car in Sydney's CBD. Crews rushed to extinguish the blaze in the engine of an Audi. The driver was not injured and, surprisingly, the car was able to be driven away from the blaze. A US jury has found 3 white men guilty of hunting down and killing an innocent black jogger. The victim was doing nothing more than running through his neighbourhood in America's Deep South.
Ahmaud Arbery's name screamed in relief as America reacted to a verdict. Say his name! Carried live across the country.
Guilty.
Guilty.
It's justice for the 25-year-old black man from Georgia who'd been jogging when he was hunted down by 3 white men in scenes likened to a modern-day lynching. Claims these men acted in self-defence after attempting a citizen's arrest, today thrown out by the jury.
Guilty.
To the relief of Ahmaud's parents.
A jury of 11 whites and 1 black, in the Deep South, good God, stood up in the courtroom and said that black lives do matter.
But today's legal victory nearly didn't happen. With allegations, investigators were pressured to make no arrests, something the President today described as a devastating reminder of how far we have to go in the fight for racial justice.
It's been a long fight. It's been a hard fight, but God is good.
The win also averting fears an innocent verdict would have further exposed America's racial fault lines.
And let us know that all whites are not racist.
That's right.
And all blacks are not worthless.
In the United States, David Woywood, 7 News.
Victorian researchers have uncovered a potential link between anxiety and Alzheimer's disease. A Monash University study found higher anxiety in middle-aged adults was related to poor attention and memory. Researchers say the observation suggests anxiety could be an indicator of the earliest stage of Alzheimer's. A war of words has overshadowed Australian music's biggest night. Former X Factor singer Regan Derry claims she was silenced and denied credit for an ARIA-nominated hit.
The smash hit dance track Dreams turned nightmare for its singer Regan Derry. When it was nominated for an ARIA.
She was not even invited to the awards. Now that seems extraordinary. Now she clearly feels very snubbed.
She was excited about its success.
Which is currently #1.
But at last night's awards, the song's DJ producer was recognised.
Jolyon Petch for Dreams.
No mention of Regan. I've been silenced, bullied, insulted and belittled, claiming for the use of her vocals there was no written agreement, no contract.
If you want to have an ARIA award as an artist, make sure you have an agreement in writing.
Jolyon Petch says he's now being targeted with abuse by Regan supporters demanding she be credited. Dreams was never released without Regan's consent, and we had come to an agreement to credit her for a cover of a Fleetwood Mac classic.
Regan says she spent thousands on lawyers. Jolyon Petch maintains he just wants the matter settled. The pair had apparently discussed plans to work together again in the future, but after this, they're just looking like dreams.
Chris Marr, 7 News.
Experts have put supermarket hams to the test to come up with the best choice for Christmas. Their official verdict is coming up on 7 News. Also, the hunt for a man wanted over an attack on a tram driver in St Kilda. And the $65 million makeover for Punt Road Oval. Fire has gutted a section of Thornbury High School in Melbourne's north. Crews brought the blaze under control within 20 minutes. Extra precautions had to be taken after asbestos was identified. A female tram driver has been attacked in St Kilda. Police say this man boarded a tram outside Balaclava train station with a young child around 4:40 p.m. on Saturday, November 13th. He's accused of becoming aggressive and abusive before reaching through the driver's window and grabbing her by the throat.
Witnesses who were on board the tram have had to intervene and pull him off and away from the tram driver.
Anyone who recognises him is urged to contact police. 17 million Australians may be forced to show ID before they vote under new laws proposed by the Morrison government. The coalition wants the system in place before next year's election, but Labor says the proposal has major problems.
The great Australian election tradition: line up at a polling booth, say your name, grab a form, cast your vote and have a democracy sausage. But that process could soon change. Under new laws before the Parliament, the federal government now wants you to prove your identity before voting.
If you need ID to go get a parcel at a post office, you should have ID when you go to vote.
It could be a driver's licence, Medicare card, birth certificate, even an electricity bill.
In Europe, most countries, in fact almost all, have voter ID measures, and in the US as well.
Labor and the Greens are stridently opposed, saying it'll make voting difficult for already marginalised people.
This is going to discriminate against people because of race. It's going to lead to many First Nations people not being able to vote.
The federal government says it's designed to stop voter fraud, with 2,100 people recorded last election as voting multiple times.
We don't have a problem with voter fraud in this country. This is designed to stop Australians from exercising their democratic right to vote.
To be in place by next year's federal election, the legislation must pass this fortnight, but it's being held up by those rebel senators angry over vaccine mandates.
We're going to present the bill and its merits to the Senate, and I'm very confident that they will see the benefits here.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
With exactly 1 month until the big day, a Christmas ham is right at the top of the shopping list. Australian pork has put this year's supermarket hams to the test, with one winner scooping the top awards for best taste and value.
It's the taste of Christmas. Succulent ham, the centrepiece of the festive table.
I'm really impressed by the quality of all of them.
Cutting through the confusion about what to buy this year, 4 esteemed judges blind testing 20 hams from all the major supermarkets.
I think I have made my mind up.
It's all about texture, tenderness, aroma and flavour.
Making sure when you walk into the supermarket, you know what to choose and what to look for.
Ham sales are up 20% on last year as families prepare for a much-needed celebration. This year's Australian Pork Ham Awards winner is Woolworths. Its double-smoked half leg voted Best Ham. At $12.50 a kilo, the judges described it as deliciously delicate. Woolies also won Best Value Ham with its budget-priced smoked half leg.
I can't believe that you can buy such great value product at such a reasonable price.
Coles, Costco and IGA's top hams cost just $8.50 a kilo, with the Aldi favourite a few dollars more. The judges loved Costco's Berkshire ham, awarding it Best Premium Buy. 80% of shoppers buy their Christmas hams from supermarkets, with anything on the bone guaranteed to be locally produced.
They're all going to taste great. It's ham. It's Australian ham. How could it not taste great?
Those less fortunate will enjoy Christmas ham too, with all these donated to Food Bank. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
The Richmond Football Club has unveiled plans for a major redevelopment at Punt Road Oval. The $65 million makeover will boost capacity to 8,000 fans. The existing Jack Dyer stand will be demolished, replaced with new facilities for both men's and women's teams. The Oval will also be resized to the same dimensions as the MCG. AFL recruiters have their work cut out tonight. Tim Watson, they're keen to snare a bargain.
Mitch will tell you why it's Geelong's time to shine. Ahead, we're live with inside access from the draft as clubs ramp up their wheeling and dealing. We'll explain the lucrative payday that could come Pat Cummins' way as Ashes preparations take another turn for Tim Payne. Champion jockey Glenn Boss rides off into the sunset. The exclusive interview next. And the Melbourne teen lighting it up in the NBA. Welcome back. AFL clubs have spent the day in tense negotiations ahead of the second round of the AFL draft. Let's return to Mitch Cleary now at Marvel Stadium. And Mitch, they're all chasing tonight's first pick.
Tim, last night clubs had 5 minutes on the clock per pick, but they've had 24 hours to jostle for pick 21 that will kickstart tonight's proceedings in a matter of moments. Fremantle currently holds that selection, but the view among clubs that others may look to move up the order and get a prize youngster overlooked last night, such as WA midfielder Matt Johnson. Geelong have 3 of the first 11 picks tonight and are exploring the possibility of trading up the order.
We'll have a look at it, yeah, we'll have a look. It's with an hour to go or whatever it is till the draft, the phone's running hot and all day. I think that's with the draft on at night time, gives teams all day to get themselves sorted. So we're no different. We're looking at anything to make our potentially draft hand better.
Around 35 picks expected tonight. One of those expected to be Geelong delisted midfielder Charlie Constable. Gold Coast have their sights set on him, with a spot having opened up last week with Hugh Greenwood's departure. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Collingwood has thrown doubt on the career of troubled star Jordan De Goey. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown is at Magpies headquarters. And Tom, De Goey is due home any day now.
Tim, the Pies are on record as saying to Goey they expect to be home before one of these days, before the end of the month. But it looks like from Instagram he's still in Los Angeles. These posts in recent hours over the last day or so, on a boat, in a fire truck, and also out on his motorbike. The issue for De Goey, though, it's become clear as he still stood down when he gets back. And Collingwood's not just worried about this assault charge that's outstanding on December 6th, but more importantly now his pattern of behaviour. Graham Wright, their football boss, will have a big say in this decision.
It's a concern. We're really disappointed in it. We've obviously stood him down, and until we sort of get face to face with him and see where the court case goes and what's happening with that, and we're in that sort of holding pattern at the moment.
And Tim, just finally, the AFL quickly getting used to this new COVID normal. 2 cases I've reported at North Melbourne in recent weeks. They didn't report those publicly because they just want to normalise the situation, but at least 8 cases the AFL's publicly reported now in the last week and a half across the industry. The AFL quickly adjusting to these positive COVID cases. Tim?
Thanks, Tom. Cricket Australia's search for a new captain continues as calls grow louder for selectors to keep the faith with Tim Payne for the Ashes. Pat Cummins could be installed as skipper within days, which will also come with a nice pay rise.
As Tim Payne was dismissed to relative silence, the calls from his Test teammates to get him to the Gabba grow louder.
In my eyes, Tim Payne's the best keeper in the world. I want the best gloveman behind the stumps.
Despite making just 8 runs from 2 innings for Tasmania's second 11, his comeback from neck surgery has been a relative success. David Warner's wife Candice says Payne's sexting scandal smacks of double standards by Cricket Australia.
They're basically saying that it's not okay for an Australian cricket captain to send these messages, but it's okay for an Australian player. Now, as a wife of an Australian cricketer, that is slightly concerning, and it does make me worry.
The Aussie squad, again hampered by Queensland's big wet, somewhat sheltered from the Payne fallout in their Gold Coast bubble.
Mitch Marsh hasn't taken his World Cup medal off yet, and he starts calling himself the Norm Smith.
Pat Cummins could be installed as the new Test captain as soon as this weekend, and with the extra responsibility will likely come a nice payday. Sources suggest a captaincy bonus of around $30,000 to $40,000 a year on top of his multi-million-dollar Cricket Australia deal. Travis Head keeping the battle for the number 5 spot interesting with his 3rd century of the season. Earlier, South Australian opener Jake Weatherall took out his frustration on a Queensland helmet between overs. Andrew McCormack, 7 News.
Champion jockey Glenn Boss has announced his decorated career will end on Saturday. The 52-year-old is already in the Racing Hall of Fame and will be forever remembered for his trifecta of Melbourne Cups with Maccabi Diva.
Yes, yes, yes! Wins the Everest! Racing careers don't get much better than that of Glenn Boss.
It's given me so many great thrills.
He sat down with Seven's Bruce McAvaney to reveal his big news.
Glenn, you've come to a big decision over the last few weeks. Can you tell us what's happening?
I've made a decision that I'm retiring from professional race riding as of after Saturday. To be at the level I want to be at all the time and to be at the level that I should be at, you've got to be all chips in, especially in the last 3 months that I felt that I was wavering.
The 52-year-old has won 90 Group 1s, most famously a trilogy of Melbourne Cups aboard Maccabi Diva.
That final moment with her, just that moment we just seen where I took my hands off the reins and just showcased her. That's the greatest moment I've ever had on an animal.
From the Pony Club in Gympie, he was told he wouldn't make it. Boss took another hit in 2002 when he broke his neck in a race fall.
I was told that I'd never ride a horse again. That was like waving a red flag at a bull.
And after 35 years in the saddle, a ride on Spanish Mission at Caulfield in the Zipping Classic will be his last. Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
There's no slowing down Josh Giddey in the NBA. The Melbourne teenager as cool as it comes at halftime.
Get it off in time. He's going to count from downtown at the buzzer.
Giddey is fast becoming a fan favourite at Oklahoma City, but the Thunder couldn't get past Utah, going down 110 to 104. And Mitch, that's sport.
Good on you, Tim. Thank you very much. Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, how's it looking tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, we are still cloudy, but the wind picks up too. Then the weekend looks a bit nicer. The full details are next. Hello again. It is grey out there and quite the contrast from the past few days. Yesterday's sea fog lingered into the night, high humidity stopping the temperature falling below 15. That humidity disappeared this morning and it actually turned colder as the day went on after only reaching 17. That's because we do have some rain, but it is very light. It's not adding up to anything in the gauge and only just wetting the ground. Cloud covers much of the state and there is rain over the northeastern half. Now, some of it was intense rainfall. In a short time, Warrenbane had 75 millimetres, Marie 61, Archerton 53. Now, that's after big falls in the Wimmera late yesterday. Yannick North 49, Rainbow and Archdale Junction both picked up 40. Now, today's heaviest rain eased late afternoon, but it is still very wet out there. And this rain is having an effect on Melbourne's water storages. We're now just under 90% full. That's the highest it's been since 1997. The low that is bringing all of this rain has only just begun. It'll take until the end of tomorrow to cross New South Wales. Now you can see a warm front there in red, but its path keeps the warm air away from us. We saw the rain's intensity has moderated, but these large areas of rain do continue in eastern parts overnight. Tomorrow, things should increase in Gippsland as the winds turn onshore, and there is a bit more drizzly activity around Melbourne. Nothing heavy, just a millimetre or two. These areas remain on flood watch for minor to moderate flooding. The heaviest falls are in the northeast, already the Kiewa and Murray up in the hills in minor flood. But the wettest ground is in Gippsland after months of rain, so fresh concerns for flooding there tomorrow. Around the nation, storms and heavy rain for Brisbane, Sydney and Canberra. Cloudy in Hobart, but generally dry. Adelaide dry and mild. Perth, they're in a hot and sunny streak thanks to the high over the Bight. To Victoria, areas of rain continue in these parts of the east. Mostly cloudy but dry in the northwest. Lighter drizzly rain about central parts and into the southwest thanks to gusty southeasterly winds. Those winds are strong enough to cause damage up on the hills, but that is not in Melbourne, where this is what it looks like tomorrow. Grey skies once again. Gusty southeasterly winds push drizzly showers across all of these western suburbs, while the east is actually quite dry. The city rises to 20, but it's under grey sky, and with that gusty wind, it'll feel a bit colder than that. Generally dry, there's the chance of a bit of drizzle. To the 8-day outlook, the weekend does look a bit nicer. Increasing sunshine on Saturday, 23 in the sunshine by Sunday. We've got high pressure, make it very nice early next week. We should hit 31, the first 30 of the season on Wednesday, and there is the chance of some storms later next week. 20 tomorrow, but cloudy, and there is a bit of drizzle, mainly in the west, Mitch.
Thank you very much, Jane. And we close with breaking news tonight. Police have just charged Jetstar captain Greg Lynn with 2 counts of murder over the mystery disappearance of campers Russell Hill and Carol Clay 20 months ago. We'll have updates throughout the evening and full reaction in the latest following the front bar tonight. And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 25th of November. From the team, good night.